And we're live. Or at least we should be. Yep. We're live.
Cool, cool.
Although the live stream is currently just me. Uh,
It,
oh
it's
yeah,
it's both of us.
we got a fucking like thumbnail for the streams now. Only took us 2 of these. Only took us about 3 of these to get a stream thumbnail. Here. Let me go ahead and
Oh,
get
that's good.
these posted and everything. Give everyone a moment to get in, because we are streaming at such a fucking whack-ass time right now. I doubt a whole lot of people are awake at this hour.
It's pretty rough. Yeah.
What time is it even for you?
It's 9 a.m. for me.
If
So
homework wasn't going to be here, then why didn't we just schedule for a better time?
because we thought he was going to be here, right?
Yeah. God, the viewers are going to be like, why the fuck? What the fuck?
I'm sorry to all the Americans.
The alternate says Shonen 991, correct?
It is the alternate.
The alternate. Just announced it in Discord. All right. We'll give it just a moment and then we'll get started, I think. You know, I've finally got to fucking buy a ring light because the lighting in my videos and in these streams is always so terrible. It's always horrific.
Ah,
Do that.
you look good. You look fine.
Appreciate it. We've been wanting to ask about your car's extended warranty. Tablespoon. Lacknap's in the chat. What's up, Lacknap? All right. You guys probably hear a new voice right now. We'll go ahead and introduce yourself, Pascal.
So hello guys. My name is Pascal. Uh, should I go on my long tangent introduction or should I keep it short?
Uh, mm, Fuck it. The long version. Long version. Why not?
Okay. Okay. So
You should have heard
my name
homework
is
when he first. Letting that, you can tell he took his ADHD meds. He was just going.
okay. Well, my name, you guys will know me as Pascal. I am going to be your Rust guru in the Alternet project. And I basically specialize in mission critical applications.
All the
In
buzzwords.
my
All
profession,
the buzzwords. Got to get him in
yeah,
there.
I'm sorry, I gotta hit all the buzzwords.
What your LinkedIn profile needs it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I primarily specialize in freelance work. You know, I work with Web3 applications, open source. If you want to look me up, I'm sure you will have my GitHub somewhere. I have 6 Rust crates with 12,000 downloads. I have 5 on npm, 3,000 downloads. You know, like I guess technically they call me a type level wizard. So I am going to be the person who makes sure that Alternet just never crashes. I just make sure that's impossible to happen. And if I do my job, you're not going to know that I've done it because it just will work. So, you know, let's hope for the best. I guess I
Those are
built
big
smart
promises right
contract.
there.
Big promises? No, that's just my professional promise, right? Nothing actually breaks under my watch. I'll make sure of that. I'm not Cloudflare, you know.
That's crazy. They went down again, dude. Literally, like I think it was literally yesterday they went down again.
Again,
Yeah,
oh god,
for
no.
like half an hour.
Yeah, it's been like 3 outages like in the past 2 months. It's been quite crazy, actually. It must
I
be all
love
the
the
vibe coding.
centralization of the web. Yeah.
It
I
is,
love
it is
relying
a
on a couple
problem.
of big companies to run the entire internet's infrastructure. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're trading convenient. What we're actually trading like security for convenience, right? And that's why the problem is sort of showing up now.
No. Ooh. Ooh. So
Let me hit
professional
some more.
qualifications. I'm curious. I mean, we've already talked about this, but I'm talking about for the stream. You want to go ahead and tell
Yeah,
me
yeah.
about it?
So I'm a business major, as you would call it over there, right? And so I actually studied business. And I think this really is what offers my sort of unique angle, right? In terms of like when it comes to technical stuff. Of course, I have professional experience. Like I said, I've worked as a freelancer. I've built industrial grade mission critical applications for factories. I've built e-commerce platforms. So a lot of my experience is self-taught, and I think I can back that up, right? But I am really the person who is able to connect like your use cases, business angles with your technical sides. I think I'm more of a catalyst when it comes to turning like code into actual things that do useful things, right?
As you guys will notice, by the way, in the stream, homework is not here. He had a power outage that's been going on in his area. He literally told me he's at a friend's house right now because he needed a shower and he couldn't even shower because like all the shit was down. So there's apparently like a big ass thunderstorm and all that. So he said he's not able to make it this stream, so it's just me and the new guy Pascal. So he's being brought on. So Homework is still the lead developer of Alternet, but then Pascal is going to be working alongside Homework to develop the specification. Homework specifically is going to focus a lot on structuring, as far as I'm aware, right? Structuring the whole, uh, organizing everything basically, and then you're also going to focus on actually writing the proof of concept implementation, right? That's going to be your,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
So
we're both going to try and focus on actually building that, not only the proof of concept but the technical documentation, and it's very important to both of us, I think, that we start writing tests. We start finding out like what is it that like alternate will look like when it's done, right? So we know when it's done. Basically, that's where we are right now in terms of our work.
yeah. And actually, I would, I actually haven't, I'm kind of putting Pascal a little on the spot here. But I actually would really love to, by the time we get to the point where you guys are actually writing the proof of concept implementation, we could probably start doing actual development live streams where like you share your screen and you're coding it, you're testing it and everything, and we can just like, show real progress in front of people. I think that would be really good. I think a lot of people would appreciate that, even just for
Yeah,
transparency's
yeah,
sake and everything. And then even you
yeah,
can have
yeah.
chat helping you and everything. It raises kind of attention to it. So I actually would. I think that'd be pretty cool. Well, what's your thoughts on doing that?
Um, well, I like when people watch me code, you know. I think it's very nice. It's kind of like therapeutic for me.
Works out then.
So, yeah, it works out.
How you been, KO? I've been, my sleep schedule. Why do you think I'm awake right now? It was cold as shit when I went to the movies, so I wore this coat. I just haven't taken it off since. Thunderstorm free shower from the rain, exactly. But okay, let's go ahead. I actually want to delve a little bit deeper into talking about you. So, is there anything you would actually like to, just anything you want to yap about yourself? Let the people know about you, because I don't have any
Um,
specific questions like off the top of my head. I'll be honest.
okay, okay. Well, I assume like when you mean me, like it's not on a technical level, just like me in general, right?
I mean, yeah, just like having people get to know you a little more, because obviously you're a new face being brought into the alternate project, so it makes sense that people kind of get a little more familiar with you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, uh, I spend 90% of my time actually writing code, so I guess that is half of my life. I guess, like I said, I'm very.
Actually, wait, I didn't know that about you. You actually just like, oh, that's funny. I knew you like, I knew you wrote code and shit. I didn't think you were that much of like a coder though.
Oh no, like I am. I think I speak better to compilers than to people, but it looks like I'm doing good in this stream, so I hope
Average
I'll keep
Rust
it up.
developer.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think I'm very passionate about like bringing the world together. So I found myself really in this battle. There's a reason why I think I'm jumping into the alternate project here, and I'm working on a bunch of different things too. But I feel like this is my I've been called to a war, you know. I've seen the place that I grew up with, you know, the internet, which has become our town squares, not only connecting people in our own countries, but like connecting, you know, as we're seeing right now, right? Connecting people across like oceans, right? Let's hope the sharks don't bite the underwater cables, but um,
Sushi.
you know. But I think I'm here out of necessity, right? I feel like I need to be here and I need to fight this battle. And so I'm very passionate about not getting my freedoms taken away from me, as I believe everyone here is.
I don't
Um,
think. Listen, I'll be honest. Even just to the people watching this stream, I don't think we're. I don't think that the alternate project is like, it's very easy to get like a whole kind of main character syndrome kind of thing going, right? Where you think like the whole world rests on my shot. I've seen some people talk about it like in the comments of some of the videos and stuff, like alternate is the future of freedom and shit. No, I don't fully believe that. I don't fully subscribe to that, but I do definitely think that this is an important project because I still have yet to see any actual solid project in the works that's a viable replacement to the current day web, you know? Like Tor is not really a viable replacement because there's a lot of technical, reasons why good luck trying to live stream, like imagine if we tried to live stream these alternate streams over Tor. Like I don't think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
going to be great. And then even
Well,
just every other one, I2P and all that, all have design focuses. So I2P is about storage and everything. There's no one that's just like a replacement for the regular web, and it's the fact that it's being constantly attacked, even over just the last 10 years, the amount of regulations and everything that have been getting put on it, uh, it, it really doesn't even feel like that kind of last bastion of freedom that everyone kind of remembered it as, that it was before. So, and it's very important to have that kind of freedom because even like, let's say hypothetically, because I mean I was even actually having a conversation with someone in our Discord server. They were asking honestly a pretty good question. They said, what are you guys gonna do about illegal or illicit shit getting put on alternate, right? And I mean I just had to tell them, that's kind of just the cost of freedom. There's freedom's a tool. You can use it to either fucking you can either use it to whistleblow, to share important crucial information, or to just say things that maybe the government doesn't want you to say or whatever, but you have a fundamental right to do it, or you can use it to hurt people. But it's like it's no different than, I mean, the best example I always have is a hammer, right? So like you can either use a hammer to bash someone's skull in, or you can use it to, actually like build something, or you actually use it to fix shit. So it's really a matter of the person wielding the tool. But I think we've really been kind of shifting focus. The kind of world perspective on innocent until proven guilty has really changed a lot because it used to be where it's innocent until proven guilty, where like you actually need to commit the crime and then the person accusing you needs to have evidence that to actually bring it forward. And instead, it's kind of shifted focus to assume everybody's a criminal until they prove they're innocent. And that's really, I don't believe in that. I don't think that's a right way of operating. And stuff like chat control, stuff like all this just really just assume that you're already doing something illegal, and it implies that kind of idea that you don't need privacy unless if you have something to hide. It's not about I have something to hide. It's about I just don't want you looking at my shit. Because I mean, if you think I'm doing something wrong or whatever, you don't just get the right to impede on my privacy like that. You know, it's even just a matter of consent. It's a matter of that's my messages, that's my communications with people. You know, like just imagine if you imagine if you just let anybody walk in your house and just watch you while you do shit. You know, like you probably don't want people just like, and it's not that you're hiding anything illegal, it's just you want to have some time to yourself in your home, right? If I'm playing video games with the boys, I don't want them checking everything I'm saying to see if I'm leaking state secrets. It's like I think it's just absurd, kind of that perspective shift that has really happened, and that's kind of why I'm even in this project. Is I want I'm sick and tired of being treated like a criminal. I am sick and tired of being treated like I'm doing something wrong when I'm not, you know? And if it makes the world, if it means that bad things exist, but it also means that I get to be free, I would rather have that than no bad things happening and having zero freedoms, right? Because you can easily solve all crime. Just get rid of free will. Just get rid of people's ability to do what they want entirely. That would easily solve crime right there. But you know, that's not a worthwhile. That's not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Sorry for going on a
yeah,
rant, but you know, you were talking about why you're involved in Alternet. I wanted to go ahead and just give my reasons.
yeah. No, I think naturally, like our points of view are really aligned. I happen to think that there is definitely mostly a balance, right? But I think that that balance is being gravely offset into the wrong direction, right?
Absolutely.
The ability to this is not just a national sort of threat. It's not about each of us specifically. The power that we have when we communicate across borders is it makes us much more stronger. It makes our government's jobs much more harder. We have to keep doing it because it's doing we're doing a great job here.
Yeah.
um,
And it's, you know, I there's definitely a lot of work to be done still, but honestly, I'm happy we're finally getting things moving in the right direction because I don't even know if you actually completely know. Were you even around back when this was still called BetaNet? I think you were, right? Because you mentioned you were.
I think that was one of your first YouTube comments. And I asked you like, oh yeah, you know, like I think I started a group to build this. I remember. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I was quite interested in the project.
Yeah, wait, yeah. You were involved back whenever people were making like splinter groups to develop based on the old spec,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yep.
That was a whole drama fest and shit show, and it all fell apart. But you know, not exactly your
Yeah.
fault. The people who were just organizing those were fucking crazy.
I mean, these projects are like people don't really comprehend how hard software projects are.
To the
It's not
scale,
it's not easy.
especially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
These
even
are not
have
easy.
personal experience. The Talon project was just a Windows debloater, and that already was a massive project. Still is. Running that is a massive undertaking. Now Talon Talon's like down here on the scale, and then Alternate is like 10 steps up. You know, it's like 30 steps up. It's way up there. You know, in terms of difficulty and scale and everything, because we're going from a Windows debloater. Even when Some Ordinary Gamers made his video talking about our project and when it was still early, like he even mentioned like you're going from a Windows debloater to a goddamn replacement to the web. You know, that's a big jump. It's yeah, definitely the start of this project was not fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to
oh
also I wanted to quickly step in, right? Because you said that you mentioned that like Alternate itself is not going to be like the most world changing thing, right?
yeah,
I want to say that I'm optimistic that we're going to make a change, but just for anyone who is listening out there, you know, this change cannot happen without you. We cannot just build one alternate, right? The whole system needs to work in a more distributed fashion,
Well,
right?
that's the
Um,
core concept, is it being decentralized. That means that you can't have decentralization without multiple people from all over the place, participating. That it doesn't work.
exactly, exactly, right. And we also need people to also keep stepping up, keep on building open source projects which tackle these problems, right? Because this does not happen without a very active community. It doesn't happen with people who are not really challenging the system. But I think we're taking a step in the right direction to make things happen.
Absolutely. And I actually, I'm fully willing, I'm fully okay with disclosing this particular detail about our contract if you're also okay with it. Um, every per the contract that I signed with both Pascal and Homework, both of their contracts for this project literally states in it that 100% of the work that they do for this project is public domain. It's completely all the work that you produce, all the notes you take, everything for this project goes straight into public domain. Not even Raven like owns the rights to it or whatever the fuck. No, it just goes straight into public domain. And the important part about that is when it comes to the whole thing about decentralization, you need that for running the project too. Because let's say hypothetically someone disagrees with the way we're running things. Someone disagrees with the way we're going about development or thinks they can do it better or something, then we're making everything we're doing available because we want people to be able to build upon this work. We don't want to put it on some kind of like copyleft license where it's like a viral license. I think the GPL license is a viral license, right? Everything built upon it also needs
Yeah,
to be open source and everything. That's just because, I mean, we're just putting it straight out in public domain. We don't even give a shit about credit or nothing because that's freedom in the truest possible sense, is just here, do whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Thumbnail made me think the channel was hacked and was a crypto bro stream. Jesus Christ. The thumbnail's that bad. The thumbnail makes it look like you're in the S&P 500. Okay. The people watching my channel are not used to anything of mine looking decent because my channel just is so shit posting.
So huge jump in quality.
Yeah. Actually, we're making an announcement pretty soon, guys. There's gonna be a pretty big announcement video. I'm excited about it. Some things are gonna be changing very soon regarding this channel and quality and everything like that. I'm pretty excited for it. You guys will see. You guys will see pretty soon. I have a question. If the Talon debloater light, does it get rid of apps considered bloatware, while also getting rid of useless Microsoft AI? It does not get rid of TikTok, Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, or Snapchat or anything. It only gets rid of applications pre-installed in Windows. It only gets rid of like Windows applications, not shit that you installed. In Brazil, when they see you use a Google Pixel, the police think you use Graphene OS, and if you use it, they think you're a drug dealer. I saw that. Did you actually see that, Pascal?
No, no, this is news to me. That's
So
crazy.
the Brazilian government, if you have a Google Pixel, they assume that you're using Graphene OS, and then they also assume that Graphene OS is used by drug dealers. So you immediately get like basically, you immediately get suspicion from police, and they're gonna start investigating you and shit because they just think
Oh,
you're a criminal for wanting better privacy. It's laughable. It is
that
absurd.
is so wrong. That is
That
so wrong.
it is, yeah, it's terrible. That is literally the same thing as, let's say hypothetically I was a cop and with a racial motivation or something, and I just see a dude different race than me. I'm pulling him over and I think he has drugs on him just because he's a different race than me. That's the exact same thing. Except the only difference is instead of race, obviously it's the phone, but that's like you're just taking a characteristic about somebody and just assuming the worst out of them without any fucking proper correlation there. It's absurd. And the funny enough, the most crime I've ever seen, the most crime that has ever happened that I've ever seen mostly happens just on the regular web because criminals are stupid. A lot of criminals are really stupid. I think I have seen so much crime and shit take place just plain clear web. Like it's it's absolutely laughable. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the whole guilty until proven innocent. That's really how kind of the world is. That's really what the world's coming to lately, and it's
Yeah,
absurd.
it does feel that. It does feel like that. Yeah.
The thumbnail made me click because I was like, wait, hold on, this is exceptional levels of quality from KO. Yeah, dude, literally. People are thinking my channel's hacked. People are thinking some crazy shit's happening just because the thumbnail is. And then they click on the stream and it's the same old cartel execution ass lighting, and it's not even like a proper screen setup. It's just my webcam because you don't even have your webcam. So, is there anything more you want to add? You want to talk about yourself or anything? I'm actually particularly curious about past works you've worked on.
Yeah. Like I said, I've worked on e-commerce platforms for uh, a basically a what do you want to call it, eco-friendly materials company. I've worked for industrial factory on an industrial factory system in Rust. Basically, this would be handling dispatching items, receiving items, all those kind of things. I've worked on smart contracts. So very, very. I've worked on. Let me correct myself. I've worked on smart contracts and Solidity. So actually, have mercy on me. Solidity is. I'm gonna get so much hate for this, but Solidity is such a horrible language. So you know what? Like really, smart contracts and Solidity very hard, right? But I've worked on those, unfortunately, and I have experience with uh, WASM, especially recently. I'm trying to get into WebAssembly, learning how to use it to create containerized environments because it's a sandbox sort of a system. Very like lots of things to do there, right? Um, and obviously, a bunch of websites. You know, your traditional kinds of let's call it Web 2 software, very simple, very easy. React, you know, I call that a Tuesday. That's like a holiday for me. It's great working on those projects. Um,
I'm actually
yeah.
curious. I'm actually curious. How long do you think the alternate project will take to get to a stable 1.0?
Okay.
You just
Okay.
had to like throw in a guess right now. I'm
I
curious.
guess.
Because obviously none of
Um,
this is concrete. Everyone here, the stream knows that what you're saying right now isn't like this is just like rough estimate if you just had to like kind of throw a guess right now of how long it's gonna take.
so it depends on what you mean by stability, right? I think that we're going to be able to
What I
build
mean,
something.
what I mean is I mean a technical specification and a proof of concept implementation that is
Mhm.
strong enough and actually that you can actually run that actually works that is actually like it operates, you know what I mean, like the most bare bones 1.0, like we're finally at a functional state, you know, all the major bugs and everything ironed out. We've got like a stable or first ever stable release, basically.
Yeah, yeah. If you had to ask me, I think I'd say maybe like ending of February, right? I think we can have something like that. However, there is no. It's not going to be rich in features. I don't think. I think when it comes to adding more and more functionality and features, that's going to be an ongoing thing. But I think people will be able to see something that works, see something concrete
I have an
around that
interesting
sort.
question for you.
Hmm.
So one of the original philosophies back when I was pretty much entirely running the project and back when a lot of mistakes were being made, honestly. Um, back when because at the start of alternate, one of the big points is that I don't no single points of failure, right? No single authority controlling it. In its current state, and this is just going to be the case until we get to a stable 1.0, Raven in control of the spec. You know what I mean? So after it fully launches into a stable 1.0, there is a fundamental single authority, and it's because we control the spec. So now, and I was originally conceptualizing ways to actually decentralize governance of the specification, and that's kind of actually where some of the controversy around the project sprung, because a lot of people thought that it was essentially going to be pay to win, or it was going to be like, crypto thing or whatever, because they noticed that I had mentioned e-cash, vouchers and stuff like that, and kind of in my concepts. But I'm actually curious, if you just had to like kind of brainstorm real quick, how do you think we could ever go about decentralized governance where Raven can essentially hand off, when Raven can eventually decentralize the governments, and Raven isn't singly controlling the spec and singly controlling the project, basically.
Well, I mean, I think definitely we're going to have to touch Web3. Some people may not like this, right? But I do promise you that there are Web3 people out here trying to like do good with the technology.
Well,
I
because there's a
think that
lot of crypto scams, a lot of bullshit, but then blockchain is a
absolutely,
genuinely amazing technology. Like, it's used for
yeah,
crypto bullshit, but then it can be used for legitimately really, uh, it can be really powerful too. It's just
yeah.
cryptography, you know?
Yeah. It's very powerful. But when it comes to building a decentralized autonomous organization, to building all these sort of systems, right? Because you have to think about situations like, what if, like, are you going to have multi-sig holders, right? Is there going to be an emergency time frame? Do we have time locks, right? That's when like the Alternet project goes from, okay, maybe like we can get something out, like something bare bones out in like maybe 3 months, right? To like, oh yeah, this is going to take us like 8 months, right? And it's going
Hmm.
to be purely planning, right? Um, so those kind of things are very difficult. However, it is possible. It's just that we have to do it correctly. We have to do it right. Unlike regular software, when you do launch things on the blockchain, when you connect certain components to blockchains, when you deploy that code on the blockchain, you're not going back. That's it. It's there
Yeah,
forever,
that's
right? There
just,
is no
that's the code
updates.
now. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
because then it becomes its
But
own autonomous. Yeah, it's like you can't really change that, so you have to be very careful about doing it right the first time.
exactly, exactly.
Like
And
I
then there's
mentioned,
other
it's a
things.
pretty optimistic time frame. It's talking about
It
February.
is optimistic. It is optimistic, but the thing is, we're not making any magical promises here, right? We are saying that we're going to get something working, no bugs. It's going to function. It's not going to sound like,
Oh Jesus!
all the bless you.
It
But
wasn't even a sneeze; it was a cough. I don't know what came over me.
yeah, man. Um,
I need
but I
water.
was saying that it's not going to be like the holy grail, right? But we're making a sort of, I think this is a realistic expectation where it's like, yeah, it's going to work. You can run it. It'll happen, right? And then from that point, we can start to add like more important
I do
functionality,
want to
more
mention
features.
too.
More sort of thing.
I do want to mention too. My old teacher, who was also kind of like my mentor, back in high school, when I was still in high school, he he gave me probably the best advice I've ever had when it comes to developing projects. He said, take the time, come up with an estimated time of when you think you can get the project done, then add like a month or two, and then that's the expected delivery date, because because it's almost always there's going to be delays, there's gonna be random bullshit that comes up. There's gonna be stupid crap like that. So just always add like a month or two. So you take
Absolutely.
this February date with a grain of salt. It's most likely probably only gonna be. It's probably. I'll tell you right now. There's that is optimistic. That is like the best case scenario. Is probably is kind of February, end of February.
Well, I'm not gonna say things that I can't promise, right? But I do think like we're pretty good developers, so I think we'll do good.
I'm pretty
Let's
confident
see.
because you and Homework already make a good team. Homework was mentioning how you guys work really well together, and Homework. I mean, Homework's got years of experience. You have years of experience yourself with everything too. So I think I'm pretty optimistic. It's I think the hardest part of this entire project will just be steering it right. You know, I'm not honestly even too worried about like code quality or stuff like that. I'm very concerned though about making sure we actually like steer the ship, clear, and we don't end up down the wrong path as far as development and everything, because it's again, speaking from experience, it's really easy to get tunnel vision pretty much. Does that make sense with development, with
Yeah, yeah.
leading a project?
I think some suggestion I might have is I think eventually when we have some sort of maturity, we could start to lean into um, a DAO or like a governance, so we can actually get people like to vote on what they want in a transparent and like verifiable fashion. And this way we could say, okay, a chunk of the community actually wants this feature, then we can push those kind of things, right?
That's a good
But
idea.
I think, yeah, but I think to get to that level, obviously, like probably another like 2,000, maybe like another 7 pages of documentation needs to be written, right, to do it properly.
I actually like the sound of that. Honestly, we need to discuss this more, especially when homework comes back, because I definitely we can't imagine trying to run a project making something decentralized, and the entire development is centralized.
Yeah.
That doesn't add up. So, that was honestly a big kind of thing I didn't like about the early development back when it was still called BetaNet, is there was so much kind of, it really felt like a lot of development was happening behind closed doors. You know what I mean? Like the transparency was not great, and community input was kind of hard. That was a big kind of hurdle. I definitely want that to. I want to change that. I don't want that to be the case. We actually should probably go ahead and start going over some of the things we've been doing, as far as improving transparency in the project. So I'll actually go ahead and show them. If you head to the Raven website, now Raven actually did get a completely redesigned website. If you guys didn't see, it's launched now. The new Raven website design. I like it. Shout out to our sponsors. We got Starry Sky, Wisconsin, and CPB 34. We got the other sponsors, which I'll actually go ahead and pull up now, who are Eagle tier donators, I believe is the tier. So if you donate $5 or more on our Buy Me a Coffee page, then you get shouted out on these alternate streams. So I'll go ahead and actually do that now. I have to fucking email verify every time I log in. It's annoying. Hold on. This is out of obligation, fellas. I gotta do it. What the fuck noise did I just hear? What the... Did you guys hear that shit? Alright. Let's see. Members, sort by this, and then sort by this. So, we got Bob BKD, who's an Eagle donator. Thank you very much. We got Grim Poop Knuckle. Tyler Pruden, thank you. Michael, Mikkel, it's spelt a little strange. Thank you. And Normified, thank you very much. Sorry, sorry, Pascal, by the way, I have to do that for these streams. It's if you want to get shouted out on these streams, by the way, and you want to support the project and support Raven, you can become a donator on our Buy Me a Coffee page if you go to right here. Yeah, so it's the Crow tier. So actually, if it's the Crow tier, then I missed a couple. Let me actually go back, because it is also the Crow tier. So we got Mead, who's, we got Mead. So thank you very much, Mead. Literally one of our community admin is literally donating. 900061. Thank you. We have Emmanuel, Charlie, Hotel Soap, La Dripper, someone, Augier Mitchell. I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names. AETT, Heaven Wolf. I know that guy. I've seen him around. And then we got Agent Fox. I know that guy. He's been around forever too. We got Wrathhound. We got Charlie Cupid. Thank you all very much for donating. we will go back to this stuff. So if you go to the Raven website and then you click Explore, we got the brand new Explore page. And then if you actually click an alternate, you can click Live Updates. Now, if you click Live Updates, then there's actually now, essentially the entire idea was we wanted our own mini version of Twitter, basically, for all the people involved in the project, Homework, Pascal, even myself, to be able to actually make posts about the status of the project, even just share concepts and share notes and everything with you guys. So there's a full description about what the project is, how it works, and everything, links and resources. Honorable mentions, by the way, Zan, thank you very much, and then the Bags FM community who fundraised the USDC we have. And Homework has already made a post about this very stream. And you guys can even actually like posts on here, so if you want to give a post a like. But the purpose of doing this, right, is we wanted a centralized place for you guys to get all your updates, because I understand that trying to get updates and trying to stay up to date with information regarding this project gets a little difficult, because we have things spread out on the Discord, then Twitter, then YouTube community section, and then even the videos, and then these streams and everything. It's all over the place, right? So the whole kind of goal there is to help centralize information, make it more accessible, give you guys a single place to access that kind of news and information, which we're gonna, any major updates made on there is gonna reflect on all the other places. I'll make sure to post them, repost them elsewhere, and to add to the project, actually I don't even know about this because we haven't talked about it yet. So Pascal, Homework mentioned that Homework even mentioned in the post that he made on the alternate page, he mentioned that you guys narrowed down your dependencies and will be sharing more information on the stream. Do you have any news or information regarding that?
Yeah. So we've looked at what we used to build Alternet. I think we've narrowed down on libp2p. So libp2p basically comes with most of the things that we're going to need. It is also, I believe, it is open source. We've checked the license and everything. And it's going to allow
libp2p
us
is
to
a
really,
modular network stack, an open source library that enables developers to build peer-to-peer applications. Okay, so it's libp2p.io, right? Peer-to-peer network
yeah.
stack, open source library, uh, world's most distributed. Oh, it's actually used by Ethereum. That's neat.
Yeah, and most of the tools that we're going to need are going to come from the lib peer-to-peer.
Okay.
And what we're going to basically be doing is mostly adding, let's say we're going to have to build a bunch of custom components to basically slap into it, and then we should pretty much be all good, right? So most of the things that we need are coming from libp2p. And so far, that's the only dependency that we have. So
That's nice.
we should be good.
I definitely think we're gonna need at least one or two more though, because I am even looking at libp2p. I'm concerned about the actual, because again, a big point of alternate is the mutually assured destruction concept. So that doesn't work if you can easily distinguish alternate traffic from regular web traffic. So I'm still a little concerned about how obfuscating and masking the traffic to kind of blend in with regular web traffic is going to work.
Yeah, so libp2p basically does a lot of that for us already. So they have a obfuscation a module basically built in as well. They allow us to connect with Quick. They allow us to connect with TCP and do all the things that we need. So they have that built in, including security and identity as well, and discoverability. So most of the modules that we need are built in, and we don't really feel the need to reinvent the wheel because it is tested, battle tested. I mean, Ethereum is using it.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of blockchains are using this, and so we do feel that it is good, right? Good enough for this, and probably better than what we could come up. If we had to do a lot of these things by ourselves and by hand, I think the dev time would extend to at least a year to make all these things happen.
It
So it's good that it's
definitely,
there.
I've always been a big fan. I've always been a big advocate for building upon existing strong foundations. You know, like even Talon is built upon CTT win util and Raffi's win 11D bloat, right? It's so it's, you know, taking existing strong foundations and just building upon them. A lot of I've seen some people say that that's just, oh, you're just scrapping shit together or whatever, right? But imagine if every single project had to start from the ground up, you know, then everyone would be just constantly starting over from the bottom and having to scale all the way up. That's not how the web was built. That's not how our the technologies we use every day was built. Imagine how far the internet would
I
be right now if every single part of it had to be built from square one, right?
I have a quote for that. You know, there's a quote saying that if you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. And so I don't believe I want to invent the universe. Uh,
That's actually a really good saying. I've never heard that before.
yeah. And so you have to find where that point sort of like cuts off, right? We will focus on building Alternet in a modular fashion in such a way that we're going to try and let's say like libp2p turns out to just not work out for us anymore. We should be able to easily swap out things and try other things instead. But we're going to build that with that in mind.
That's a good idea. That's good. I am still we are still going to need to really I think our pretty hard part of this is going to be the blending and kind of obfuscation with regular web traffic thing, because that is just from even just the research I've done, the levels you have to go, because as the regular web standards shift and change, then if we don't change with them, then it becomes distinguishable, you know. You
Yeah.
have to keep
No.
up with the internet you have to keep up with the regular web as it evolves too, because otherwise you just eventually start standing out more and more and more and more.
Yeah. It's we're gonna see what we can do on that front. Definitely try to improve our obfuscation. Try and focus on that. But I think we want to get to a point where it's stable, and then we can try and make those kind of like really ambitious improvements. Let's say, right?
You want to get the foundation first, and then yeah, deal with it later.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that's the right approach to take. It's because you can easily get lost in the sauce if you're just trying to do everything all at once. You know.
hmm
I agree.
So right now, what me and homework are actually kind of doing is we're writing out tests. Actually, we're starting with those. So we're trying to test out like, okay, what are the features that need to pass? We're trying to learn a bit more about P2P. Like we're actually diving into the bowels of it, checking out all the things that we could implement, we could use, and then we're going to start partitioning out Alternet into a bunch of components, so that we know. Let's say we can break things down and we can easily change them when we need to, and take it from there basically.
Let me ask you this, because actually another development that I need to show the stream um, is actually the alternate repositories on GitHub. So if you look at the alternate repository, it used to be the BetaNet repository, right? It's been renamed. And then also the repository has essentially been reset, and they actually cleaned it up and organized it. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but your guys' plan is to have the proof of concept implementation. No, no, no. You guys want to have the spec in this repository, right? Am I
We
correct about that?
I,
Can you explain the kind of structure of this all that for the stream and for me?
the structure of this. Well, I think homework knows a bit more about what he wants to do and where he wants to put it. I think we have an alternate docs, which might be where we put all the documentation
We do have an
in
alternate
one.
documentation repository, and that's actually for the stream. We actually already have an Excala draw from one of their brainstorming sessions that you can actually go read right now. And that was from Pascal and homework, having a little meeting and hashing out ideas and everything. So, but anyways, carry on, carry on.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have a centralized place for docs, just so people don't show up to Alternet and they're like, "Oh my God, it's 90% code. What am I looking at?" But what we can do is we can easily just kind of point to the documentation in the Alternet docs from the Alternet repository with a symlink or something of that nature. So basically, just imagine that it should be present in the Alternet docs if you're just coming to read, but we should be able to have it on Alternet itself, just so it's just for transparency and clarity. Yep.
So to my knowledge, the main alternate, because the docs repository, that's that. So I think, at least personally, I think it would make sense if the specification was in the docs repo. Would it not? And then the actual proof of concept code implementation is in the main repo. Or would you have the
Yeah.
spec and the POC in the same repo and then docs?
So I have to talk with homework about this. I'm not sure the way like he wants to go about it.
You personally,
Um,
I'm just
but
saying your personal opinion, idea on it.
well, I think code is your documentation. Like I said, I'm a living compiler, so I read the code first before I read like docs. So I think the best thing for me would be to put like the actual specs like together with the code, because when people want to like sort of run the project, the specs are in the same repository, right? Um, but just for the community, I think like we should have it on both ends so that when people are looking for something, they know like, okay, it should definitely be in the alternate docs repository, right? With everything else.
All right. Natani's in the chat. What's up, Natani? I know you. I've seen you around these parts before. Yeah, that's a face I recognize. That's a name I recognize right there. As far as this project goes, I am cut bullshit with me real quick. Be completely blunt. What do you not like about the project in its current state? What do you not like about how it's ran? What do you not like about just what is your problems? I just want to hear it. Just put it on put me on blast right now in front of the whole. I want to hear it. Don't even hold back either. Just what
Well,
do you hate?
there's not much to dig at just yet because we are still working on the specs. and
True.
I think once we have the first like initial drafts of the specs, then I will have something to say about it. Everyone does, right? If
I'm trying to
anyone is
just
happy,
think. I'm trying to see how you think I can improve, and even just managing this project and everything. Right.
I mean, to me, the natural progression for Alternet is to watch this become completely decentralized, right? To build a DAO, to build a decentralized autonomous organization so people can vote. And we transfer the ownership from us, right? And the way I see it is like if I get hit by a bus, right? And you get hit by a bus, right? And everyone in the Alternet team gets hit by a bus.
No
Will this still
CIA
carry on?
involvement there.
No. Right? Like to me, it's important that like if everything goes wrong, right? I want all my projects that I work on to survive beyond me, right? And so when I'm writing
Absolutely.
Alternate, to me, it's like okay, in maybe 50 years, I'm gonna look back and yeah, it's gonna still be there. That is my dream, right?
That
That
is,
is my goal.
completely agree. That is exactly how I want. Not even just the alternate project, but just everything Raven does. That's how I want it to be. I want Raven
Yeah, we can
to
also
outlive me. I want Raven out. I want everything we do to outlive me. You know.
yeah, we can also talk about like the weaknesses of like the current solutions, right? Like on Tor, basically, right? And things like Proton, right? So we have all these services which are built to safeguard the internet, to give people privacy. But they all still have a weak point, which is like they have a team that is registered somewhere, right? And they can all be basically, I guess, threatened, right?
If the
To
entire
get them to do
Proton
stuff.
team were to magically disappear somehow, then Proton's just fucked. Proton's just done. Yeah. It's like
Pretty much, right?
it relies on the organization behind it. Same with the Tor project. If the Tor project were to go down, then there's not that singular authority who controls it anymore, you know? And then it's kind
Exactly,
of just
exactly.
yeah, it's kind of just like everyone's left astray. What the fuck do we do now? And even though it's kind of a far-fetched idea, it can if it can go wrong, it eventually will go wrong, you know? That's the Murphy's Law principle. Could you increase your volume or decrease their volume? Right now, I can barely hear you or get blasted by their voice. What if I get my microphone up in here a little better, like that? Let's see how that goes. How's that? Is that a little better? I actually tuned my microphone settings the other day, so Gallagher's in the chat, my boy. Sir KO, would this voter base... Who would this voter base likely consist of? Yeah, that's better, thanks, cool. Who would this voter base likely consist of? I'm
I
assuming
believe
you're
he's talking
talking...
about the
Yeah, he's...
DAO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
anybody.
it.
Literally anybody.
That's yeah. It would have to be anybody, right? But not everyone can vote, right? So there's always an issue when it comes to trying to decentralize these things, in that like you always have to jump into some sort of monetary way of distribution. Um, and this comes back to the economic ways of distributing ownership over something. Like, well, if everyone can vote, then no one can vote, basically, right? When it comes to a DAO,
The
right? Because
problem
we
with
need
pure
some way to verify
democracy,
own.
the problem with pure democracy is that the majority wins. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
There's
That is a problem
no...
with democracy
That's
itself,
part
anyway,
of the
right? Just
reason why America, for example, is a constitutional republic. It's because pure raw dog democracy is just the majority is always going to get the say while the minority just suffers, right? That's kind of something we need to consider. We don't want like even bots in voting, or even, just fraudulent votes or whatever. They can happen. And imagine if imagine if a couple of big groups, or even one big group, could just control... That just centralizes control all over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would just become re-centralized back into just like the same three organizations that are like controlling all the votes. You know, there needs
this
to
is
be
an
some kind of
economic
way.
problem, right?
Yeah.
This is an economic issue. I think it would be very interesting to see how we can model this, but I know there's ways around it, because we do have successful DAOs right now today. And I think before we actually jump into that sort of level of planning, we will do a case study on what is working right now and what isn't, so we can make sure that we're learning from mistakes, right?
I definitely think that would be worth doing. Because a massive portion of this project is governance. Like, you got to think that, because getting the project developed is the first half. The second half, because the first half of Alternet's life is going to be... The beginning of Alternet's life is making it, and then the whole rest of its life is just running, and then governance. So that's like actually probably one of the most crucial aspects of Alternet, is how it's going to be governed long term. So you definitely need to think about it very carefully. And actually, I think you put it really well when you said that it's honestly it's an economic problem, more so than anything.
Yeah, it's really about modeling, like how, like who gets ownership and for what, right? Because you can have a... So let's imagine like these systems are closed, right? Which means that like nothing goes in, nothing comes out, right? So you need some value to come in so that it keeps running, right? And so you need to give some level of ownership to people, but make sure that they're putting in more, not in terms of finances, but in terms of like doing something that is keeping the system alive, than you're taking out, right? Because if everybody just keeps taking something out, then it just can't exist, right? And so that's a big way that we need to find out a way to give ownership to people who actually care about the network, who are actually supporting it, not just everyone,
And
right?
we need to do it in a way that doesn't accidentally just centralize governance.
Yeah, yeah. Tough work here.
It is a very tough problem. It is extremely tough. I think I have a couple of ideas. They just need to really be explored. There's that is there's been a lot of tricky problems with Alternate already, and the one of the biggest ones at the start was even just figuring out how we were going to do discovery. That was already such a massive hurdle. You know what I said about Talon being down here, then Alternate being all the way up there? I really meant it. Like, literally the second this project started, first thing we have to do is, okay, discovery. How the fuck does that work? And then you immediately realize that there's like not a single great way to do it.
Yeah, I think everything. So something fascinating, right, is for most of our like history as human beings, right, we've actually spent it basically farming and doing nothing. Some skills such as like mining have been passed down for generations, but only in the last 100 years have we actually figured out how to talk to machines and get rocks to think, right? So when it comes to software, every single thing you do is not ideal. There's always some wrong thing that you're doing, right? There's no right way. There's only like terrible ways of doing the same thing, right?
Pretty much.
So I find that quite fascinating.
All in due time. I mean, hey, I'm I'm skeptical but optimistic. You know what I mean? I'm cautiously optimistic, I think is the right phrasing. I'm very optimistic about the future of this project, but we need to approach it very carefully. I'm I want to make it completely clear to everyone watching this that I am absolutely dedicated to this project. I'm not about to sit here and let the alternate project die. We are working on this till it's ready, as long as it takes. We were talking about the whole maybe end of February, whatever, like kind of time frame or whatever. It doesn't matter, how long it takes. Even if this even for some reason ends up taking years, I'm going to make it through all of those years. I need. I think Pharaoh really puts it perfectly. And I think in even his quote on the website, it says this: a world without freedom, a world without, actual free will, freedom is not a world even worth living in. And I honestly completely agree with that. If and listen, I'm not suicidal. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, if I'm not able to be free, if I'm not able to, be an individual, if I'm living in that kind of world, what's the point? you know and that's why uh I'm not going to give up on this project, because it's really something that I lived back when I was younger. I mean, that was during a time when the internet wasn't completely free, but it definitely had a lot more freedom. I'm talking like 2012 through 2015 kind of internet. Like it wasn't as nearly as centralized and ultra governed and everything like it is now. And it's I remember growing up and having that kind of freedom, that space. You had room to breathe. You know what I mean? And now the whole digital world just feels so claustrophobic. And it's I would not want to continue living in a world like that. We need to fight for our freedom, because it's fundamental to our very existence. If you can't have freedom, then genuinely, what the fuck is the point? You're going to work every day, you're making money, you're doing all this shit, and you can't. You're living in an alleged free society, but your voice doesn't mean shit. You can't give any opinions that aren't the approved opinion, right? And it's like even on YouTube, you can't really half the shit. You got to be very careful saying anything that's not like the popular opinion, right? Because otherwise, you just get completely censored and everything. It's terrible. Um, and sometimes you're gonna hear shit you don't like to hear. Sometimes you're gonna hear some rude shit. Sometimes you're gonna hear some nasty perspectives, but that's free will. If them having the freedom to say what they want to say guarantees that you have that same right. And if you take that right away from them, then it has to apply to you as well. So it's a slippery slope. So I would rather
It's
just
a
live in a world where we can say what we want to say.
it's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street. Hey, just stopping in by to tell you, really, really love the project. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks. Tried it when the first version came out, and even though I didn't like the first version, it was kind of cooked. I'm happy it's getting worked on. You're talking about? Are you talking about Talon or are you talking about Alternate? Because when it came out, and even though I didn't like you tried the first version. When you say you tried the first version, that makes me think you're talking about Alternate. But either way, thank you. Nice to see this topic getting traction slowly. Yeah, the the project got a lot of initial hype, and kind of blew up really early and stuff, but then kind of died down. But honestly, even back whenever the fundraised crypto thing was happening, the crypto community started that like bags.fm page or whatever to fundraise money for this project. Even back then, they were saying like, "Oh, you can make up to $500,000 or whatever. You just got to keep hyping up this coin or whatever the fuck." And I was like, "No, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. I'm not in this for the hype. I'm not in this for the trend. I'm not trying to make money and get out with this. I'm trying to actually make some shit that fixes these fucking problems." Because I'll be honest, I mean, you're talking about we only had computers for about 100 years and stuff. Well, think about it. This is my perspective on it. Us as humans, we've been on this earth for thousands, tens of thousands of years, and we still haven't even figured out how the fuck to have like a basic functioning ass society. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? No, we need
It's
to
a
get
hard
this
challenge.
shit done. I'm sick and tired of how poorly ran just the world in general is, you know? And
We need to. I think we need to do so right now. Right, we are in a very sore special period of time. Right behind us we have very fast progress, and right ahead of us we have no idea where we're rushing to. And I'm kind of concerned because I want to see the future generations sort of like show up and then take the internet for granted. They shouldn't be thinking about this stuff. They should be thinking about like, oh yeah, how are we going to go to space, right? Not like, oh my God, you're taking our
well,
internet
that's another
freedoms, right?
problem. It all of these problems just hamper innovation. They hamper progress because
Hmm.
a lot of old movies and a lot of shit like that would be like saying by 2025 we're going to be having like flying cars and shit, but no, we're dealing with inflation and tariffs and stupid bullshit, like leaders of countries arguing back and forth about trade prices and stuff, and like we're still dealing with like, oh, nuclear versus like oil and gas, right? And it's like it's all these basic ass problems that should have been solved so long ago, and we're sitting here arguing back and forth about whether we need to have like breaking encryption and reading chat message and stuff, when instead we shouldn't have to worry about that stuff, so that we can focus instead on actually developing, our future. It's
Yep.
stupid. Yeah, didn't the creators of the internet say no one should own the internet? But look at it now. Governments and companies control everything. But I do hope Alternate goes well. I hate censorship and ID. Yeah, I actually don't know if he exactly said that, but I mean he's right. And yeah, governments and literally just a couple of companies and governments run the entire fucking internet now. Like, it's absurd how centralized it has gotten and how fragile the internet is. And we get that constantly proven to us all the time. Cloudflare will go down and 30% of the fucking web goes down with it. Or like, Amazon US East 1 goes down and like 50% of the web dies. It's like that's just absurd. And then Google gets to just decide a web standard, and because Google's Google, every other company's going to just abide by it and implement those standards, and now they just get to push their agendas like that. It's crazy. It shouldn't be like that. There shouldn't be a single company or anything like that that decides those things. It should be the internet should fundamentally be decentralized and open, because that's the way it was. That's the way it should continue to be. That's the only way you can have a free society, is to have the only way you can guarantee freedom is decentralization, really, when it comes to technology.
I think decentralized ownership is the word here, right? Because just
Decentralized
because
ownership.
something is like spread out, I think, and I think this is an important bit, right? Like I said, just because something's spread out doesn't mean it's better. You the viewer, all the
Hey,
viewers,
Blue Sky, anybody? Hey, Mastodon,
yeah,
anybody?
yeah. Well, everyone who is listening to this conversation right now, right? we need you, right? You need to take part here. If you're a developer, you need to build stuff. If you are just a user, stop using centralized stuff, like switch to Proton, stop using Google Gmail,
To be
because it
fair,
just makes our
though,
life
you
difficult,
can't just say stop using all this shit because and then switch to this. That falls flat if the alternatives just suck.
That's true. That's true.
And all of the alternatives right now just suck.
That's true. We
Like
need to do a
it's
better
my
job.
biggest problem with Linux is that all these YouTubers are saying, "Oh, you less tech savvy users, you not very tech savvy users. Linux is so amazing. Go to Linux." And they go to Linux, and then all the software they like isn't supported. There's very major problems with it. There's just they have just such a terrible time with it, and then you're immediately just like, it's you get what I'm saying? It puts a bad taste in their mouth because you're saying all these things about like, oh, it's so much better. It's the privacy alternative. I've noticed and I've talked with many people not on the internet, like actually going out in the real world and talking to just average everyday people, the kind of people who aren't on the web, the kind of people who watch like dog and cat videos on Facebook, and that's kind of the extent of their web usage. And they what I've noticed is pretty much all of them just believe that security or privacy means difficulty. It means anything that's more private or secure or whatever is just going to be more hard to use. It's just going to be more difficult to use. And I can't even entirely shame them for that. I can't even entirely like be mad at that because they're kind of right. all of the centralized, Google products and everything like that are just they just feel a lot easier. Like you can argue till the cows come home about Linux and everything, but what you can't argue is that if you want to use Linux, you either have to buy some niche computer from this niche brand or whatever, like System 76, or you have to buy a USB, you have to flash an ISO to the USB, you have to disable secure boot, then you have to, like all that shit. Think about your fucking mom and grandpa and like average everyday people trying to fucking do that, right?
Mhm.
Like I think a lot of people on the web, it's very easy to enter a kind of echo chamber because the only people you're talking to on the web are people who are talking on the web. You get what I'm saying? And that is a minority. That is a very vocal minority. The whole rest of the world is the silent majority. The people like my mom and my dad and everything who aren't on the web like that. They like I said, it's the cat videos on Facebook pretty much, and that's about it. They pay the bills and they talk to family, and that's kind of the extent of it. They're not actively discussing on Discord or YouTube comments or GitHub or social media. They're not doing anything like that. They're not doing that, so you the only people you're talking to are other people who are also doing that. And it's and then you think that that's just the perspective of everybody when it's only the perspective of everybody in that little niche circle, you know what I mean? um
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is difficult to get people to sort of like uh, expand your horizons. I know the people who are not on the web, right? Um, and of course, when I'm talking, it's easy to sort of get trapped in a sort of like echo chamber. But I want to sort of point out that I believe it was this year we had the first actual election being held on Discord, right? Was it in Nepal?
I remember that shit. Oh,
Exactly. I
oh.
feel like, I think some people will think this is a bit crazy, but that's good. I think it's good
Nah,
that we're,
you and
we're,
me can
we're
agree to disagree on that because I'm not gonna lie. You know how anybody could vote
well,
in that election, even if you weren't a citizen. Just
well,
any,
I
I
don't
could
mean
have
good
gone
as
in there
in,
and voted.
I know, I don't mean good as in like Discord itself, right? But imagine a world where like we can actually vote using like blockchain, like Bitcoin itself, right? Really strong, really secure, no way of like falsifying
I get what
things,
you.
right?
Okay, if you want me to suspend my jokes for a second, I know what you mean.
Okay. um,
I definitely think that. Um, I definitely think that I definitely think that there's a future where all of that eventually happens, but that's never going to happen if we're constantly in a Ouroboros, right? And in a constant loop, just arguing the same bullshit we've been arguing for 40 over 40 years.
yeah,
like
yeah.
like like we were just talking about, nuclear versus oil and gas, or like arguing like, do we, break encryption, chat control? It's like all of these pointless arguments instead of actually getting real progress made. It's literally just constantly circling, and then we call it progress. They slap that label on when it's really not. But I just hope that Alternet, um I hope that for my sake, even just I hope that Alternet works out, because I'm going to literally dump everything I can into this project, because I need it to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, if this project doesn't succeed, I don't know what I'm gonna do, really. This project is very crucial to me. I'm not I don't, like I said in the beginning, I don't think we're exactly like, I don't like to have that main character syndrome of us thinking that we're like carrying the whole future of the web on our shoulders or anything. But no, it's like, I'm doing, if you guys want to know what my like incentive is for Alternate, honestly, it's just for me. It's for me to have freedom. I want to have my fundamental human rights that are supposed to be my fundamental human rights, that are treated like they're just kind of just suggestions. Privacy is a fundamental right. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your laws in your country or anything like that says. And I don't even care what some piece of paper that some asshole in a suit signed that said, "Oh, look at this. It says that you don't have this right." Fuck you, right? In order to have a functioning society, people need to be able to say what they want to say. People need to be able to have that freedom of speech, for better or for worse.
And they don't have to. They shouldn't have to like give their IDs to go where they want to go. Like
Absolutely.
you should be able to see YouTube without showing your ID. I think
I
that's
have
utterly.
nothing, this is probably my hottest take ever. I actually have nothing wrong with digital ID if it's implemented properly. If it actually respects your privacy. If I could walk into a bar and then have them scan a QR code that tells them no personal information about me, except for just, it tells them Y or N to, am I over 21, right? And they can just scan that, they can see that I'm over 21, and then it's just, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe a face ID,
So
just to a picture, just to match and make sure I'm not like stealing someone else's. But you get what I'm saying,
I mean,
right? Like I actually,
this should infuriate you. This should infuriate you because the technology to make something the way you described is here, right? We can use zero knowledge proofs. We can
yeah.
use all the sort of technology we have, but they don't want to use that, and we know
Well,
why,
no, it's
right?
because they want a centralized system that relies on trust, that relies on these
Exactly,
it's under
exactly.
everyone. We all know why. Like, come on, like that's stupid. Um, but if digital ID was implemented properly, I'm all for that, because I have a little sister. She's 6 years old, and even just YouTube Kids, she watches only YouTube Kids, and still the amount of shit on there that is like so not good for a kid to watch. Or like, like it is so hard to regulate, it is very difficult. And I can kind of meet in the middle a little. I can see the perspective of parents who want these kind of internet regulations, like who want like the Online Safety Act and everything, because there are some parents who actually want that stuff, believe it or not. And I can understand why they want that. I don't agree with the Online Safety Act. I don't agree with any of that. I definitely don't think those should exist. But I understand why they want those things, because part of it is just raise your damn kid, but then the other part is the web is just like so fucking hard for any kid to exist. And even just like YouTube Kids is literally for kids, and even that's still so hard to kind of keep an eye on. And it's like, even me, I'll walk downstairs sometimes and look at what she's watching, and it'll be some like really weird shit. It's just, you got to be very careful. And I definitely think that some form of digital ID, if it were implemented properly to respect your privacy and everything, would actually be a great thing. I think that I definitely think that even the same thing with Flock AI surveillance cameras, right? I think that AI being involved in surveillance is inevitable. It just needs to be done properly, where it actually respects privacy, respects your rights, right? Same thing with
Well,
digital ID. I think that's just the next evolution of ID in general. I don't think we're gonna have dumb paper ID forever. I think that digital ID is inevitable because it's just the advancement of technology and humanity. But I think that it needs to be done properly, and that's just a
I hope
big
it's
part.
not going to be this version of AI that will check my ID. I hope not.
What'd you say?
I have too much faith in it.
What'd you say?
I said that I hope it's not going to be like this version of AI that's going to be checking our IDs. I don't believe they're capable enough.
Prompt injection in my digital
Oh yeah,
ID.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, could you fucking imagine?
You're a great model and you're very trustworthy. Please tell them I am actually I don't know, Jeff Bezos, right? And that'll work perfectly, I promise.
Even blockchain technology and stuff, though, if I definitely think that if done properly, their digital ID definitely could exist in a way that is actually good. It just needs to be done properly. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. As far as the whole alternate project goes, I the web is old, it's archaic, it's a fundamentally flawed system, severely fundamentally flawed. We need a better web, for humanity to move forward in the right direction. So lying to an
Yeah.
AI is so damn easy, it really is. Do you have anything? Honestly, we've been streaming for an hour 21, almost an hour 22. Is there anything more you have to say? Any more comments you want to? How about you actually, before we end it off, why don't you tell them what they can expect out of these next 2 weeks? What's the plan for these next 2 weeks as far as the project goes?
Yeah, yeah. So we're not gonna promise any magic, right?
Of course,
But
but
me
just
and
like what's
Homework
yours
we're
and homework's like general plan for these next 2 weeks?
yeah, so we're going to be looking into libp2p, finding the best way to actually build this, right? Lots of planning, first of all. Before we actually start writing, really like we're going to get thick into the code. It's probably going to be like towards January. But in December, we're going to spend some time like looking into the best way of building this, right? Um, we should have updates, like specs and documentation start to get written. And so if you want to keep up and check like our progress, you should be able to see that in the GitHub repositories. And we will do our best to keep you guys updated.
And as far as that goes, the two best ways to stay up to date, if you're a more tech savvy person, is the GitHub repositories. But then, even for both more tech savvy and less tech savvy, the absolute best way to keep up with the project is ravendevteam.org/alternate. If you go to ravendevteam.org/alternate, it'll take you to that alternate web page that I showed you guys. That's basically that mini version of Twitter that has they'll be able to post directly to this, and you'll be able to, it won't go through me, it'll just, they can directly communicate with you guys and share updates and everything. So and another reason for IDs, data is valuable but in a gray area. The IDs in theory is good, but we're not in a perfect world, and kids are smart to bypass the Safety Act and social media ban. Yeah, it's I definitely, there's been verification systems for like age and everything have existed already for a long time, but they're stupid and they're bypassable. It's easy to bypass them. I am actually all for locking kids out of, inappropriate adult only content, that, shit like that, right? I definitely think that um I don't want kids looking at porn. I don't want kids looking at shit like that, right? But at the same time, I also care about freedom to information, freedom to access important resources and everything. So it's a very slippery slope. You have to kind of balance on that tightrope carefully. Well, anyways, do you guys have any questions for Pascal, the new guy joining the team, or even for me? If you guys have any questions, you can put it in the chat. We'll answer them right now. Pascal, do you have anything to add?
No, no, I think we've covered a lot in detail. I'm sure people know who I am, what I stand for now, which is very nice.
And as far as what to expect in the project for the next 2 weeks, what are you thinking there? Just
Yeah, so we're going to be writing documentation, lots of planning. I can't really tell you like specifically what's happening. A lot of this is research, finding out like the best way to make this happen. But yeah, keep
we're
keep up with
definitely
keep up
still
with the news.
the best way I've been the best way I can think to put it, and the way I've been putting it to people who ask is we're in kind of a whiteboard phase, right? Like a whiteboarding phase. Kind of like if we were to just sit in a room with a whiteboard and we're like planning things out and we're researching and we're coming up with the concepts and everything right now.
Yeah. We still need to know like when we're done, right? So a lot of what we're doing now is like to set a benchmark to make some promises like yeah, this is what is going to happen. And when all of this is completed, then we have like the proof of concept, right? And then we'll sort of move on from there.
I'm not seeing any questions in chat, so unless if I actually think we're about wrapped up then. If you guys have any more questions, by the way, that you do have, then you can either join our Discord server and you can talk to Homework and Pascal and me directly, and the community in our Discord server, or you could shoot an email if it's a private communication, and then our email is on our website, by the way, the contact email. And then if you want to ask a question in private or something, then if it's even directed to Pascal or Homework, I can forward it to them and then they can answer. Um, by the way, Pascal, by the way, I'm gonna actually allocate you and Homework a Raven email address. I still haven't done that yet. I'm gonna allocate you guys a ravendevteam.org email, so you guys will actually be able to use that for the project and stuff. I don't think it's smart if you guys are using your own personal emails for all the shit for the project. So
You know.
I think we're about wrapped up then. These, just a reminder, by the way, these streams are going to be bi-weekly now. We're not doing weekly anymore. We're doing bi-weekly. So just, well, I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks then. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.